Hi, welcome to Fine Lines. I am Michelle Shetty, and I am one of the founders of the Fits Aesthetic Club in Chicago. Today, I have invited on Olivia Kirkpatrick. She is a nurse practitioner and a trainer and injector at the Confidence Bar, another med spa in Chicago. Fellow woo-woo girl, much more woo-woo than me. She's an expert at manifestation, authenticity, confidence. And so I just want to know more about how she lives her life, how she's made her dreams a reality, and we're going to get into it.
So I'm Olivia Kirkpatrick, like Michelle said. I work in Chicago at the Confidence Bar, and I'm super excited to be here. I was honored when you asked me to come on, to be honest. I was like, oh my God, this is so exciting. I had saw that you guys were doing this and I thought it was awesome. So when you reached out, I was like, wait, this is so fun.
Okay,
so,
I'm glad you were into it.
Yes,
very
I was
into a little
it.
like, ugh!
No, like when I saw you guys were doing a podcast, I was like, that's really cool. Like, I love that. And then you shortly reached out to me, like pretty quick. And I was like, wait, I love this. This was on my visualization, my manifestation board. It was literally on my wallet yes. I like have in my wallet it's like a credit card size paper. And I cut out like what I want in my future, and it's on that card back and front. And I put like pictures of everything I want, and I had on their podcast, like not a specific podcast. Yeah, I felt really aligned being asked to be on this. So thank you.
Great. I'm so excited. And so when I was considering, okay, who do I want to invite on and what kind of conversation do I want to have? I was watching your Instagram story, and you had just done like an Ask Me Anything sort of question. We're receiving anonymous questions, and you were speaking about someone had asked, I think you had shared that you've gotten some like not so kind responses, as one does when they ask for anonymous feedback. Mm-hmm. And someone said, how do you not let that hurt your feelings? And you just had this response that was like, that is not my cross to bear, what they think about me. No one actually knows my life, what I've built, why I do the things I do. And so I don't let it affect me. And that was shocking to me in a way, that you could have this confidence to open the door to hear what people want to say to you, or keyboard warrior kind of, and not let it affect you. And so I really wanted to dig into how you navigate that level of confidence and self-assuredness, I think, is what came across, was like, other people's opinions don't matter to you. You matter to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, like I said before we got on like recording I'm not a sociopath. I do care what people think a little bit. You know, there's a word for that, like a sociopath if you don't. So I definitely care, but I have perspective on things. And I feel like I've immersed myself the past like decade into understanding who I am, what I want in life, like mental agility, like confidence building. And I think getting to know myself. And I feel like it all comes down to my confidence in myself, right? Like I feel like when you're insecure, when you're wavering in who you are, that is when people can get through your armor, right? Like that's when they can attack you, make you feel smaller. So I think because I've been on this journey of self-discovery and building confidence over the past decade, that is why, because I do have an armor around me. And I feel like it's because I know my worth, because I've done the work to get there. So I think that's why I can do like the anonymous questions, because it can be intimidating. And like I said, when the questions come in that are, you know, negative and nasty, like I'm human, I get rattled. I'm like, what the fuck? But then I'm like, they hate themselves. Like that's where my brain goes. So I think it's perspective. Like I believe that people treat you as a mirror. Like that's truly what I believe to my core, and I know I'm right. So when somebody says something that's negative to you or nasty or tries to break you down, it's really a reflection of what's going on internally. I would never say something like that to somebody, because I love my life and who I am and what I've built. So I think that's the way that I look at it. So it's easier for me to kind of like slough it off, because I don't value or respect the person that said that to me. And I already know that. I can already like guess that, even though I have no idea who said it. I already know I'm not going to value who that person is or respect that person. So I'm not going to let that person get into my ether or into my energy, because it's not worth it at the end of the day, you know? Mm-hmm. So I feel like it's been decades of building confidence, but that's why.
It's interesting you say that, because it sounds like you have this ability to make someone who's tried to make a personal attack against you not personal. Like it's more a reflection of them as a person. But
that's exactly what I do.
Right? Like
that's exactly what I do. Yeah.
Fascinating to me.
But it's because I understand human nature, right? So it's like, I think, like I said, this self-discovery phase of like understanding what makes people tick, what makes people successful, what makes people happy. Like the recipe for confidence and the recipe for what makes people happy is what I've engulfed myself in like 15, 10 years, like literally the past decade or more. I feel like I've just been a student of all this information. And it's just like a natural curiosity. I don't know if it's like my Sagittarius in me that's like a philosopher and all about this stuff, but I naturally am drawn to that type of thing. And also in aesthetics, like you have to understand human nature. So I feel like it's all kind of helped me create my art and my skill. But that's why like I just understand that it's not a personal attack against me. It's someone that's jealous, somebody that envies something, somebody that's coveting something that's not theirs, someone that's really unhappy in their life. Because you don't, like I said, you don't treat people bad if you have a good life. You just don't. Like, it's just what I believe. So I feel like that makes it easier. But like I told you out there, like, I mean, I get rattled for a minute.
Okay.
You know, like I'm human. But then I'm like, fuck no. I'm not going to let this like, you know, ruin my day. And that's how I work through it. And I feel like it makes you stronger and more confident doing that too. I think showing up and getting hate and like being able to work through it also builds confidence in itself, you know?
True. Something I've been playing with lately is this idea of growth. And, you know, especially because it's the new year and people look back and they're like, oh, 2025 was such a year of growth, or the business grew so much, or X, Y, and Z growth. It sounds like such a positive thing. But if you really think about growth, it's a painful experience. It's often done in the dark, or if you remember even being a little kid, having growing pains, like your bones physically hurt. And so it's interesting to me that we look at growth and think that if someone went from A to B, that was like an easy, happy experience. But typically getting from A to B was a painful one. And so when you're like, okay, I've dedicated the last 10 to 15 years of my life to studying this, to figuring out how to be happy, how to be joyful, how to build confidence, I'm curious, were you always this confident person? Did it come from struggle? And how were you able to make small changes on a daily basis to get you, if you could like break it down to like where you are now?
I've thought about this a lot, and I think I'm innately a confident person. I also feel like my parents have a lot to do with it. I think how you're raised has a lot to do with it. So my parents are very grounded, kind, humble people. They're the best people I've ever met in my whole entire life. And they have always instilled like love and support in me and hard work in me. So I think where I come from is where my confidence comes from for sure. I'd never want to discredit any of that because I think that's very important. I also think that I innately have a just confidence in me, but like my woo side kicking in, Sagittarius are naturally confident. Like we come out of the womb confident. Like that's part of it. There's other signs that don't. So I think that might be a piece of the puzzle, but I also have worked very hard at it. Like I've gone through things in my life, like with my family and with, boyfriends and toxic significant others, right? And built myself up in those situations and overcome them with strength and self-reflection and just growth. And I didn't let them destroy me. So I feel like that has all made me more confident as well. So I'm not saying it's just my astrology sign. But I feel like it's probably a lot of my parents' influence mixed with like my personality. But I'll never forget this one moment when I was post-college. I was dating this really toxic guy and I was trying to get away from him. And I was, of course, crying over him to my mom. And I was like, Mom, why do so many women stay with men that are so bad for them? Like, despite, all the hurtful things they do. And she looked at me and she goes, Olivia, it's harder to walk away than to stay in something you're comfortable with. And strong women do not stay in things that are bad for them, even if it's comfortable. And she's like, you are not weak. Like you are strong and you can, whatever. So I'll never forget that moment. And I remember her saying that to me and I'm like, yeah, I am not weak. I will walk away. And it is uncomfortable to be without this person I've been with for like 6 years, but I am not. I refuse to stay in this and settle in this. So I think it's a lot of their mindset that's helped me.
It's amazing.
Become strong.
So lucky to have that.
Yeah, I agree. Like I know not everyone has that too. So literally every single day I reflect on like where I come from, my upbringing, obviously, because I know it's not like that for most people. So I think it's a mixture of all these different things, but I have been through really hard times in my life. My parents have gone through some pretty rough things when I was probably 11 or 12, and they had to overcome some brutal things, and they did. And so I feel like watching them overcome really hard things in life also has shaped me and how I problem solve and how I get through things and, my emotional intelligence around certain conflicts and troubles. So I think all of that is like part of my makeup, my like brain chemistry.
Well, I like because I think a word to describe you as an outsider who's kind of just watched you on social media and stuff is like resilient. And you seem to recognize the time and the effort that you have to put in if you want to see change in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. And I've watched you walk away from things that didn't fit or grow as a provider and now grow as an educator and be willing to like put in the time and the work to get there. And that's probably based on like what you saw.
Yeah, I think, in life, like I don't want a mediocre life. I think a lot of high performers don't, right? So the way I look at things is if you're not progressing forward, you're dying, in my opinion. And I feel like happiness comes from progress and building. Happiness doesn't come from staying stagnant or in the same place or in your basement on your cell phone. Like that doesn't build happiness. And confidence comes from building, going through failures, going through hard things in life. Like that is truly how you build confidence, is by trying, right? Like confidence isn't just like an attribute you wake up with. It's going through life and overcoming challenges, and then you gain confidence through that. So it's actually an action. But I feel like because I know I don't want a mediocre life, I work hard to get the life that I want. And how do you do that? You have to show up for yourself. You have to have habits in place and armor in place to be able to get through life, right? So I feel like I'm somebody that's also really into like daily habits, like a routine, because the most successful people in the world have routines. Like I've listened to so many things and immersed myself into podcasts and books and everything to learn what the most successful people are doing. And there's the same recipe for everybody, right? It's like daily habits, like discipline, showing up, taking care of their mental health, taking care of their body so they can execute on their goals, right? Like they're not just waking up in the morning and just turning over and doing everything they're doing. They're strategizing behind it. So I feel like that is, I feel like progress is how you gain more confidence, and moving forward, with certain, things that scare you is how you build that muscle, that confident muscle,
Yeah, I mean, you almost just summarize the growth thing as being difficult again.
Super hard,
right? It's only because you've struggled, because you've worked hard, that you appreciate these things and you feel confident in a certain way. Because you and I both know we've had patients walk in our room, sit down. They're the most beautiful person you've ever met physically. Like they actually are models, and they have terrible self-esteem or they're unhappy with their lives.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like I feel like like confidence is built through showing up for yourself, I think, and like doing it over and over again. And I always say to trainees and like people that I'm training and just anybody in general is the CEO started as the beginner, right? They're not smarter than you. They just have more balls than you. That's why they're where they're at. Like they're not smarter, better looking than you. It's just they took a chance and they took a risk and they weren't scared of failure, right? So I feel like people that execute, that aren't scared of failure, they're the ones that get to the top. It's not these people that are stuck in this like perfectionist bubble or this perfectionism bubble. Like people that want to be perfect and want everything to be perfect will never get ahead, right? It's like analysis paralysis. Stay in your head, you're dead. You have to get outside of yourself and be okay to fail in order to grow, So growth, I feel like, is directly related to failure. Like every time in aesthetics, when I've had the best treatment outcome, I learn nothing from it, right? You learn from your failures. That's the best way you learn, is when you fail and when you, drop a brow or use the wrong product and it causes more swelling than you thought. You know what I mean? Like that's where you learn the most. Yes. So you can't be scared to try.
Right.
Or else you'll never grow. So.
And that's so interesting that you said that, because I feel as I'm training my staff or other injectors, they feel such a lack of confidence because they're not good at everything yet. And they're just a beginner. There is not a injector, aesthetic provider, surgeon, anyone on earth who came out of their mom doing the best lip filler that anyone's ever seen, right? You only do that from trial and error, knowing which product is best for which lip tissue. Shoot, I picked the wrong one. I need to dissolve that. You only get there from taking your time, going slow. And so these brand new injectors who feel such overwhelm and such sense of failure because they've been doing it for 6 months, but they don't do temples yet, or, they're not treating these certain areas. I try to remind them, like, you can be a very successful provider in this space just doing Botox.
Mm-hmm.
You can be a very successful provider just doing cheeks and lips. Nail those things, perfect your art, and then you can add. But this feeling of I need to be the best at everything right off the bat. And I think social media has like given us this feeling of like, I have to do full facial balancing or else I'm never going to get a patient in my chair and I have to do it all well. Like that doesn't translate to how you actually, in any industry, in any skill set, any sport, it takes practice. It takes thousands of hours of like repeating it until you really get good at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree.
That's so interesting.
I always tell like new trainees too, and like people that are trying to break into this industry, like they're, it's scary, right? Learning a new skill. And like, obviously we're all medical professionals that are getting into this, but a lot of women and a lot of people getting into it, men and women, have blocks where they're like, I need to go to all these trainings in order to know what I'm doing. And I'm like, no, you have to execute on the skill. You can stare at Patreon all day. You can go to every single conference under the sun. Until you actually physically inject, you will never learn how to do it either. So you have to rip the Band-Aid off. So I always tell people that too. I'm like, listen, you can pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to watch things happen on stage, but until you actually physically do it and try, you will never, ever, ever get, good at what you're trying to do. So you have to just do it at some point as well. Because, I was like that in the beginning, which I tell to a lot of like our trainees is I didn't inject filler for like 2 years because I was so scared. I was like scared shitless. So I was like them. Like I was like, I don't want to make somebody blind. I don't want to mess up their face. So it took me forever to get the confidence and the push to do it. I was doing Botox or neuromodulator for, the first like 2 years of my career, scared shitless of like cheek filler. Until one day someone literally was like, just rip the Band-Aid off and do it. Like that's the only way you're going to learn. So I did. And then, look at me now. But I had to have that push from somebody. Like no one, if I didn't have that push, I wouldn't have done it. So
true.
Yeah.
We try to make it a rule now at the Fits that if you have a training on a certain area, that within 2 weeks, you have to treat someone. Because I've worked with people, I've had people come in, they go to a training on lower face filler, chin, jawline. Then 2 months later, they say, I need more training on jawline. Why do you need more training? Have you tried it? No, I haven't tried it. I'm scared to try it. I need more training so I can try it. And it's just like you'll never do it if you don't get pushed to do it.
Correct.
And then you'll never get better.
Yeah. Like I always say, when I worked at Northwestern, I feel like they throw you to the wolves, like to learn. Like I was code nurse in the ICU and they didn't train me on it. I just got thrown into it, after like years of being an ICU nurse. But I feel like the best way you learn is by kind of being thrown into it, engulfed into it, right? Like perfectionism doesn't exist. So when someone wants to perfect something, you will never, ever get there. So I feel like you just have to do in order to learn how to grow and pivot and finesse the skill essentially, Right. So I feel like that's so important to emphasize like in our industry too. Like because of social media, like everyone thinks every outcome is perfect. Every lip is perfect. Every cheek is perfect. That's not true. It's just not the case.
Okay. So you get thrown into this code nurse role or you get thrown into doing filler and you've picked the wrong one. There, as an educator and someone who has grown in your skill set and developed real expertise now as an aesthetics provider, you're talking about learning from your mistakes or things that didn't go as well. So how do you look at feedback, giving it, receiving it? And I think I'd like to have a conversation too, and this kind of translates to online behavior of a difference between being nice and being kind. And so I have found like if you just rah-rah cheer someone on constantly, like looks great, are you ever going to get that person to level up their skill set? If you never have the opportunity to reflect on how that code went or shoot, I should have done this differently, how do you learn? How do you grow? How do you approach that, especially when people are paying a lot of money to learn from you?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it goes back to like growth being a part of failure, right? Like I feel like I think it comes with maturity too. Like if you would have tried to criticize me when I was in my 20s, I wouldn't have handled it well. You know what I mean? So I think I've gotten more wisdom as I've gotten older as well, that I do understand that the only way I've realized I've grown in my life is through failure and through hard conversations, right? So I think when someone's like Rana gives us a lot of constructive feedback. She is blunt. She is cutthroat. She goes for the jugular. But I appreciate it because she forces me to grow. Like I was actually just talking this morning to my hair girl about that. I'm like, there's not a lot of people in my life that I'm around that I feel like really challenge me. Like I feel like I challenge myself, but I'm like, when I think about my circle, I'm like, like Rana challenges me in a great way because she pushes me and she's not like all warm and cuddly. Like I appreciate that in a leader, you know, like she forces me to grow. And I feel like that's super important when it comes to wanting to become the best or wanting to elevate yourself. Like you have to be open to criticism or to constructive feedback in order to finesse your skill to get better. If someone's all telling you that you're amazing every second, you'll never get better. You never have to get better, right?
Right.
So yeah, so I think it's just the way, once again, perspective, how mature you are, how wise you are, like, and not everybody can handle the feedback, but I feel like the way I look at that is that it's, if someone can't take it, then they might not be a good fit, is kind of the way I look at it too. Like you can't change somebody's character. You can't change somebody's journey of self-discovery and like wanting to be a better person. Like I feel like if somebody can't handle it, then that's on them.
That's on them. You don't need to own it.
Yeah, you don't have to own their own insecurities, right? Like it's the way you deliver it too. You know, like you have to know how to dance with that. But
so I was going to ask you, like, if you could think back to someone who was influential in your career or in your life and helping you grow and become who you are. It sounds like Rana has been a big part of that. And the same thing with me when I'm like reflecting on people who made me a better nurse. You know, I can picture having a conversation with my manager at Children's National probably like in 2010. And she was challenging me. And, you know, those influential people in your life are never just the people who told you you were great all the time and had no room to elevate. It was always, it's always people who say you can do better and you can push more and might not be comfortable to hear in the moment, but it's so important that you hear that, right?
Yeah.
And so it also sounds like you're speaking to this idea of, you know, accountability versus blame. And they're inverse relationships. So the more you can take accountability for your life, for where you're at, if you're not where you want to be, the more opportunity you have to grow. And the less accountability you're willing to take for a certain situation, the more you're going to blame someone else. So if you're a new provider and you're working, you know, you've opened your clinic on the corner and you're not getting patients in the door, are you just going to yell and scream because there's another clinic, you know, 2 blocks away? Is it their fault you're not getting booked? Because if you just want to blame them all the time that you don't have patients in your chair, then you're never going to grow, right? You have to take accountability for what's happening to you and to yourself, because you don't need a massive marketing team. You don't need a fancy website. You don't need the prettiest clinic on earth to be a super successful provider. Because if you're giving really good care, if you're connecting with your patients, if you're making them feel safe and trustworthy, they're going to refer their friends, and they're going to refer their friends, and they're going to refer their friends. And that's how you grow. It's not from yelling about the people down the street.
I mean, that's like victim mindset, right? Like, I think those people that have that victim mentality and mindset, you know, aren't on the same wavelength as somebody that does take accountability and extreme ownership. Like, there's a book on extreme ownership. My husband always talks about that with his sales team and his guys. Like, you have to take ownership for your life. Like, you are your choices in life. No one else controls your life. You are in the driver's seat. I think a lot of victim mindset, victim mentality people think that everybody else is dictating their mood, their life. And that is such a small way to live. And you will never get where you want to go with that type of mindset. So I think extreme ownership is how you get ahead in life. You know, and it's taking accountability when you do the wrong thing, when you fail, when you made a bad decision, made a bad business call, made a bad, you know, treatment call. Like, you take ownership of it, and then you reflect on it. You gain more knowledge from mentors or more education, and then you pivot and you learn more and you do better next time, right? Like, we're humans. Humans aren't supposed to be perfect. Like, this idea of perfectionism, like I said, it doesn't exist. So it's like you have to understand that it's okay to make mistakes and give yourself grace. And I think there's a lot of the most confident people allow themselves to make mistakes, to have failures, right? Like, they give themselves grace, because that's where confidence is built, right? So yeah, I agree. I completely agree with you on that.
And the ability not to just to fail, but to reflect on it and do better the next time. Not let it crush you. Because if you let it just ruin your spirit, you're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
But you said wavelength, right? And so wavelength and frequencies, like, these are things that are actually measurable. So now I'm going to get into your woo-woo side a little bit, which, like, you're lighting up already. I see it.
Talk about this all day.
Yeah. So frequencies are measurable, and we all have frequencies of energy that we're putting out, right? So the highest frequencies are like gratitude and love and joy, and the lowest frequencies are grief and jealousy and anger. And so really, when I heard this analogy recently that when you are, say you're driving in the car and you're listening to a radio station and they're not playing the song that you want to hear, that is, there's, probably millions of frequencies you could turn the dial on your radio to. You could change the dial, right? And find a different frequency. Are you going to change the dial? Or are you just going to scream into the ether that you're pissed that the song is playing? Mm-hmm. So changing your frequency, tapping into a different wavelength, inviting something different is changing the dial on the radio versus just being mad or being a victim and saying, I don't like what's happening, but you're not willing to change the frequency. And people don't want to be around low frequencies. Like when you're operating at a high frequency, when you're vibrating with joy, with gratitude, with abundance, you're going to invite more joy, gratitude, and abundance into your life. So, some of it's a little fake it till you make it. Like you got to switch that dial. You got to do the things that are going to turn things around a little bit and invite more of that energy in. But you are an active participant in what's happening in your life. And if you live in a way that it's everyone else's fault, sometimes I say to my husband, do you want to be that bothered? Do you want to give someone that much power over your life?
I say that to my husband too, by the way.
Who cares what they're doing?
Yeah.
Yes, it's annoying. I think we'd be crazy to say that's not an annoying behavior, or that wasn't an annoying situation or a frustrating one. But how much power do you want to give to someone, especially who's operating at a low frequency, than you want to have and carry around your world? Because I'm my whole life, basically, I feel is a series of inconveniences. Every day I'm having difficult conversations. Every single day. I'm running a business. I'm seeing different patients. I'm navigating my kids. They don't want to do anything that I want them to do in a timely fashion. Yeah. So how bothered am I willing to let those things make me, or how much am I willing to just roll with it, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, your life is a reflection of your choices and the way that you perceive things, right? And the way that you let things impact you. So I think high performers, people that want to elevate, they're not going to get stuck in the minutia of this low frequency mindset, right? I feel we all get pissed off. We all have busy days. There's people that irritate us, but it's how you respond to those events that dictates how your day's going to be, how your week's going to be, how your year's going to be, right? But I think the way that you build agility and armor around those moments are showing up for yourself and doing workouts, routine, meditations, things that help you build confidence and armor to kind of deal with those problems, right? I think people that are on a low frequency, low wavelength, they're so self-involved and just they don't think outside themselves at all or get outside themselves. They're the ones that are, woe is me, they have victim mindset, so I think when you vibrate on a higher level, you have gratitude, you're seeing things from a different perspective. You are choosing to be happy even when there's things that are really hard in your life happening, right? So I feel it's a choice to show up like that. You telling your husband, don't let that person get to you. It's it's a choice to not let them get to you, right? But it's kind of reframing things like that and letting them know, hey, you're letting him get into your energy. Don't give him that power.
Don't give him that power.
Then he's well, no, I don't want him to have power. Fuck that. No, he's not going to take it.
Yeah, what man wants to hear somebody, some other guy
has his power. So he's no. You know what I mean? So it's you have to reflect on things and you have to take ownership of your attitude and your mood, I think. And I think a lot of people don't. I think majority of the world doesn't. And that's what I think the big issue is in today's culture. They're I have all these issues from mommy and daddy. And so they're putting blame on other things, right? Which I'm not discrediting. But I'm saying you have to take ownership of your life in this moment, though, and move and do steps to move forward to break through it, right? You can't blame everything in your life on somebody else. You will never, ever, ever get to happiness if that's how you're going to be.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not discrediting it, like I said. It's just you have to take ownership from here on out and move forward and do the things to get better.
Because at one point it's, okay, I've been using a terrible thing that happened in my life as a child as an excuse for where I'm at the past 2 years because I'm 23 and I'm navigating early adulthood. But then what happens when it becomes 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, 20 years, and then you have let that event dictate your whole life and where you're at. It is a choice.
Yeah,
I totally agree with you.
Yeah. And actually to piggyback off that, when I first got into aesthetics, there was somebody that told me that I would never make it where I was at, right? She looked at me and was you will never make it at this med spa. It's where you're at. You have to be at this facility. You have to be doing this. You have to be doing this. And she could have completely crushed me and my career, and I would never be where I'm at today, right? But I was like, when she told me that, I was like, no, that is not my truth. That is like her journey. Like aesthetics is not linear. There's no direct path to how you get to where you want to go. But I'm not going to let her take away what my passion is, what I know I want in life, right? But it was a choice to not allow her to completely take the wind out of my sail, right? So it's like there's really powerful moments in life that could make or break you. And it's up to you to decide how you're going to let that influence you. Like I let that propel me forward and light a fire underneath my ass. And I was like, okay, I'm going to show you. Like, I will do it here. Yeah. So I think that's a personality trait as well, like grit, like resilience, determination, right? Like, but confidence all goes back to it.
And someone could take that a little too far and say, I'm not responsible for how I make other people feel. They're only responsible for that. And so I'm not a bitch. I just say it how it is. I fucking hate that. Like, no, you are a bitch because you can say things with kindness and you can, you can come from a different place.
There's a way to frame it.
Right? So that obviously stuck with you though.
That was a malicious comment though too. Like she was being malicious. Like it was, And I'm curious if she remembers saying it to you or if that's just who she was, or if you said that to her today, hey, it lit a fire under my ass, but it could have killed somebody else. Mm-hmm. I'd be interested to see like what her perspective was. But to take that into the treatment room and now you're the one sitting with the responsibility or the power of doing an assessment on someone's face who has come in very, very insecure. Maybe this is the first time they've taken their makeup off in years because they have such bad acne scarring or there's something that makes them so deeply insecure. So how do you navigate, delivering recommendations, delivering treatment plans with kindness? Because the last thing you want to do is to give someone complex about an area that they're not even self-conscious about. And now that's the only thing they have in their heads, right? I think I approach it from realizing that they're a human and that it's a very vulnerable thing to come into my treatment chair and say everything they hate about themselves on their face, right? So I think I show up and I see it as a human experience and I treat them as a human, not as like a client or someone that's going to give me money. Like I literally am like, this is a human that's exposing things that don't make her feel great or make him feel great, right? So I think because I'm empathetic, the nurse background, medical background, like I'm naturally like have a bleeding heart, like I naturally am empathetic. So it's easy for me to think about their shoes and like what they're going through, right? But I always tell, people that we're training or preceptees that come in, like we hold so much power as aesthetic providers in the room in front of patients. Like you have to be very aware of the power you hold. You can make or break somebody. Like we're not saving people physically anymore, right? Like I'm not in ICU, like doing CPR in chests, like physically saving somebody, but you're emotionally saving them in a way. Like you really are. And that is the power behind what we do. And it's just the truth. And I think if people don't take it that seriously, they shouldn't be in this industry. And I full-heartedly believe that to my core. Like I don't care if it offends people, like get out of this industry if you do not believe you have so much power to make or break somebody. So the way that I train is I start out with the human form, the human connection piece first is this is a human. You want to make sure that you're dancing with the right language. You're, finessing your consult so that you're not offending them. You're using the right vocabulary, the right words, the right descriptions. You're not saying, I'm going to fix all those deep etched in lines. You're going to say, we're going to refresh things and just make things a little more vibrant. You're not going to point out a recessed, weak chin that has no profile. Like, I'm not going to ever say that to somebody, I feel like you have to have introspection, self-reflection, and understand what you say and how to say it to people, right? So it's self-reflection, I think, in order to know how to dance in that type of conversation.
Right. Because so many people, they take thousands and thousands of people's dollars to do these trainings. They're like, I'm going to train you how to inject, and you need to be able to speak anatomically and name every vessel in the face and every fat pad and where the artery runs and blah, blah, blah. That doesn't translate necessarily to a consultation. That doesn't get a patient in your door. And you just speaking at a patient and saying these anatomical landmarks doesn't make them trust you, doesn't make them feel safe with you. And those are the foundations for the provider-patient relationship, right? Where someone's going to really say, okay, she has my best interest at heart. This is something I've never done before. I'm nervous about changing my look. I'm nervous but excited about changing my look, but I'm really scared this could go the wrong way. And so how are you going to partner with somebody so they really feel like they have someone on their team? And we have said since the day we opened the FITS that one of our biggest tenets, and every single person we interview, we say this to, anyone entering these doors should leave feeling better than when they walked in, even if they had nothing done. So I am not going to let a consultation go by, and I'm not going to compliment someone on something, and not trivially. Like, I'm not going to just like find something to be like, oh my God, your hair's so pretty.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, there are amazing things about every single person walking through our doors, whether it's the UPS delivery guy or, you know, a rep or a patient that, and they're sometimes, like you said, feeling at their very lowest. So I feel like that is just so true, that you build that human connection first.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing in the consult, right, is that human piece, right, that humanness. And one thing I like to start with, which I learned from Rana, was like, I like to say, like, what's your favorite thing about your face? What makes you feel the most beautiful, right? And a lot of times a lot of women can't say what they think is beautiful, like, truthfully. And I'll point out what I think is beautiful. Like, your eyes are beautiful, your bone structure is beautiful, you know, beautiful lips. Like, so I like to start the consult like that, which I think kind of puts it into a positive perspective. And then we kind of get into, you know, what brings you in? Like, what's a priority for you? Where are you feeling like, you know, a little, you know, dull? So like I said, I think as a provider, you really need to study the art of the consultation and how to deliver messages and how to, you know, get a treatment plan in place without offending somebody. Like, I really do feel like it's an art. And I think it takes experience, you know, and time to understand that. But I think people and practitioners need to study the art of that. And they need to dive deep into books and podcasts and listening to things like this so they can understand how to do that. Because it's not easy. You know, it's very easy to say, oh,
you can't learn it in a textbook on anatomy.
Yeah, correct.
That doesn't make you better. And Suzie says this all the time. She'll be like, that connection that you have with someone, that's what brings them back, even if they didn't have a perfect treatment. And so what you find a lot is when people go on maternity leaves, they'll see another provider in the practice, right? They will do the exact same treatment.
Yeah.
Or perhaps even give them a better aesthetic outcome, but they're not going to like that person as much just because they don't have that connection. They're still going to come back to me after I've come back from mat leave and be like, oh yeah, she was great, but I like you better.
Yeah.
But aesthetically, maybe the outcome was better with the other provider.
Yeah, totally.
They just feel connected to me because we've developed this relationship, we've developed a safety, and not everyone is for everyone, right? Like, I'm not offended if I see Suzie's patient while she's on maternity leave and they go back to her afterwards because I'm not for everybody, she's not for everybody. The same goes for everyone in our clinic. But, you know, those things, those opportunities to meet a patient where they are, and you have such power to make them feel more confident, whether or not you do anything, just pointing out a feature of theirs that's beautiful can change someone's day and change their life. And saying something to them about maybe a feature that could use improvement or isn't ideal could actually destroy them and leave that running in their head for years. It's like something somebody said to you on the playground when you were in second grade. Like, people will still remember that because one time this one kid said something.
Yeah. I feel like also, like, something that's not talked about enough as well is, like, obviously you can tell them what you think is beautiful, but also just listening to people, just letting them talk, I think is a lost art as well. I think most people don't listen anymore. They want to interject or interrupt before someone has finished their thought process. And research has showed, because I've been studying this for the conference I'm throwing in February, but most providers out there interrupt people at about 11 seconds, or they interrupt their patients at 11 seconds. That's what research has shown. So people are missing that human connection experience because nobody's giving it to them. So I think if we can be the providers that listen to them, make them feel heard, make them feel seen, make them feel beautiful, like, that goes such a long way. And they're going to come back to you over and over again because of it. They're going to send all their friends and family to you. So I think that's what I always try to get across to people that feel like this industry is too saturated. People that feel like they're, you know, there's not enough space for them. I'm like, there is. We have a lot of providers, but not a lot of quality providers. So be that quality provider. Like, be the difference in our industry, right? Like, I feel like there is a lot of us, but in my opinion, it's low caliber people. So
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you agree, but
no, I absolutely agree. I agree with everything you're saying. I'm sitting here being like, yes.
Yeah, I'm like, and it might be offensive, but it's like, our industry is getting so saturated, you know, with people that aren't getting into it for the right reasons, which is why I feel like I'm using my voice a little bit more to be more blunt about, like, what's important because of the ability to break people, you know?
Yep.
I feel like we're already in a society where everyone's wounded and damaged and hurting, so.
I used to be more critical when I'd go to conferences and stuff, when I'd see people looking overdone, because that is like a true epidemic in our industry, is that as providers, we are surrounded by people who have too much done. And quite honestly, it's losing them business because if someone walks through your doors and you recommend cheek filler and you look like that character on Saw, like they're going to be like, I don't think I want cheek filler from you. That looks terrifying. Right. So, but I also feel like I've developed a little bit more empathy for people because I think as particularly mostly female industry, aging in this industry, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Like if you have too many wrinkles on your face or tons of sun damage and it's not treated, you go to a conference, people are like, wow, she really looks like shit. And then you try to correct it and people look overdone and then you're damned then too. So I think it's really hard. It was easier when I was younger in this industry. Now I'm approaching 40, to kind of be like, how do you want to play this? What's too much? What's too little? And I feel like we've hopefully gotten to a point where it's just right. But I give people a little bit more grace than I used to because maybe I'm thinking more like you, where it's like you're so sad about what you see in the mirror that you're taking it that far. And maybe you don't have good people in your life. Yeah. Like, where are your friends? Yeah. When you see those people and their chin is like literally out to here.
To each their own. I think some people think that's beautiful and that's okay, which is why there's enough space for all of us as practitioners. Like what I think is beautiful is probably different than what you think is beautiful. What they think, the overfilled women, what they think is beautiful is different, than what we think is beautiful. And I think that's why there's enough space. There's some people that want that look, and then they're going to go to that practitioner, right? So I feel like there's our tribe of clientele that's going to come to us, which is why I don't really believe in like competition, which is like why we're sitting here, right? It's like we all have our own tribe of clients that are going to be attracted to us if we're showing up authentically.
Right. Because people might say, Michelle, why did you invite Olivia?
Yeah.
She's your competition.
Yeah, down the street.
But you and I don't think that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's plenty of room for everyone. And if there's someone not in my chair, it's not because Olivia took them.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. So I think more people trying to get in this industry should have that mindset. Like, I'm going to show up authentically as myself. I'm going to put out there what I think is beautiful, what my philosophy is, what my mission is, and whoever is attracted to that will come and sit in my chair, right? If you're trying to be like somebody else, then you're going to feel insecure. You're going to feel like there's too much competition. You're going to feel like you're never ahead, So I feel like you do have to show up as yourself so you can attract the right people.
So when you were talking about your parents and the influence they had over you and building confidence and stuff, I did feel myself for a moment feel a little bit jealous because I was raised in a different household and I feel like my mom was very insecure. And part of that was generational and part of it was the way she was raised to not feel strong in herself or in her beauty and always trying to shrink herself, as we talk about so much with women these days, of being smaller and feeling less than. And I think it even translated to me when, I was dating guys as I was getting older. You had this experience with your mom where she was like, walk the fuck away from that dude. He's not good enough for you. And I reflect back kind of on my dating experience and growing up in my house. And most of the conversations around dating were don't have sex till you're married. If there were conversations about dating, it felt like it was more about being chosen than about choosing. Choosing the life I wanted, choosing about the partner that I wanted. What would a partner look like for me? How does that person, when I think about raising my kids, I want to teach them, like, how does that person make you feel? How do you want your partner to make you feel on a daily basis? It's not just this fear-based, don't get pregnant before you're married, which is kind of like this very Catholic household that I was raised in before. And then as I've reflected, kind of as we've continued talking, I'm like, you know what? But it's that experience that has allowed me to grow. It's that starting kind of probably from a place where I was more insecure, even until my 30s, I would say I'm feeling most confident in most recent years because I have been through things and I've shown up to aesthetic conferences and felt like I didn't have the right shoes or the right outfit and such pressure to try to fit in instead of just finding my own lane and being comfortable with who I am. And, you really show up online. You show yourself on social media. You talk about who you are and the way you are. And for so long, it felt so uncomfortable to me, even like sitting down or photo shoots, these guys will tell you, like, I'm like, oh, tell me how to turn my face. It's not natural for me. So, I want to hear more about like tangible ways in which you build confidence on a daily basis, a routine for the morning that has allowed you feel like to face the day and really show up online. Because part of what being forced to do it builds that like muscle, right? And so the more I did show up online, kind of against my will, to be quite honest, but the more feedback I got, like people saying, I love seeing you like that, or you're normal, or you look normal, or you're real. And that attracts those people that you want in your room and in your chair. So it's uncomfortable, but you do it anyway, I guess.
And it's paid off. Because there's people in your chair being like, hey, you said this and I connected with that and that's why I'm here, right? So I feel like for me, it was just executing and showing up. Like when I first got on social media, it was so uncomfortable. And I wasn't like, oh, wow, look at me. I'm so confident. No, I was like, my voice is disgusting. I'm disgusting. Oh my God. But the more you show up for yourself and the more you do it, I always thought like one foot in front of the other, one day at a time. I'm just going to try to be consistent and do this. The more you show up, the more you get on camera, the more you talk in front of the camera, the more confidence it will build, right? And I feel like then you'll reap the rewards of it by having clients or patients come in your chair being like, hey, you showed that, you were having a rough day and I really connected to that because I was having a rough day and whatever. You showed a human side of yourself, so I connected with you. Like I feel like the more you do something, the more you see the reward behind it, and then it gets easier, but then it also builds confidence. So I think that just doing it, just actually doing the physical act of showing up for myself builds confidence. And then also like daily habits. So I think, meditating, I'm someone that's really big on meditation. I don't know if you meditate, Michelle, but I highly recommend it. Like I feel like we're in such a busy, distracted, loud world. And I feel like nobody gets still, right? Like no one reflects, no one gets quiet, no one even like knows who they are. They're like running around with their head cut off, like on autopilot. So I think meditation, whatever that looks like for you, it doesn't have to be like doing a mantra or sitting there, but like whether that's like walking or listening to like a visualization meditation or whatever it looks like for you, but sitting with yourself for just 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day builds confidence. Like it helps you understand who you are on a soul level when you sit with yourself, right? Like we're so distracted. The distraction is what's causing people to be so unhappy, in my opinion. So I think meditation has allowed me to build confidence in its way. And I didn't start with 30 minutes a day. I started with 5 minutes a day. And I showed up every day for 5 minutes because I told myself I would do it. And then when you show up and you do it for 5 minutes, you gain confidence from that. So I started very, very slow and I started with that. Then I built another, habit over time and I started working out every single day for 10 to 30 minutes a day. I'm a busy mom. I have a busy career. Like I don't have time to go to a gym. So I found an app that works for me that I can do on my time where I don't disappoint myself. Like I'm not trying to go to Orange Theory 5 days a week because I literally can't do that. If I tried to have that goal for myself, I would fail and I would lose confidence. So I've done something that I know is attainable to my life, which is an app that I do at home, right? So I have a workout that I do and I show up for myself every single day to do that. So I've slowly built habits over time that I feel like build emotional armor around you. So I think that's why I'm so adamant about habit building and like telling people to get a routine in place, because you can only, like the way you respond to the world is usually because, you're either in a really calm, protective state or you're in a reactive state, right? Like you're like running around with your head cut off and then you're going to like respond and be spastic or mean or whatever because you're not sitting still with yourself. So I feel like when you do start your morning where you're in control of it and you do these routines, that's how you build confidence. You build this armor to be able to deal with your day.
I think what's like resonating with me is that you didn't take on too much too soon, because in doing that, you built confidence. But it's easy, I think, if you set up, like, say you make these New Year's resolutions and you're like, I'm going to work out every day or I'm going to go to the gym every day, and then it doesn't happen, it actually can backfire, right? Because then you feel like a failure. So now you've told yourself, I didn't do what I was going to do to make myself feel better, and I'm a piece of shit because I didn't do it. And then you can like spiral that way. So like you said, I started with 5 minutes a day and then I added this. So there's so many different types of meditation. There's transcendental, there's visualization, there's, you can download something to listen to. What kind of meditation do you do? How did you practice it? Because I also have found myself literally feeling like a failure while trying to meditate because I find my mind wandering. And then you're like, you're not meditating. You can't even meditate correctly. So tell me how you kind of found your way.
Yeah. So meditation's really hard. So it's a muscle that you have to work. It's like working out. Like getting to the gym is not easy initially, right? Like everyone that tries to get to the gym when they're first doing it, it's really fucking hard. And you're like, I don't want to go. But you get there and then the more you do it, the easier it gets, right? Mm-hmm. So when I first started meditating, first of all, I gave myself grace. I didn't talk negatively to myself. I wasn't like, oh, you're an idiot. You suck. I knew, because I've listened to so many people and like mentors, if you will, talk about it, it's very, very hard. So like even if your brain like wanders and you're thinking about work or other things, that's okay. It's okay. It's part of the practice. You're a human. So I feel like I like meditations where it's affirmative. So like I like where somebody talks to me and it's affirmations. That's what fuels me.
Okay.
So that's what works for me. So I feel like some people like a mantra, like they'll work with like a coach and they'll get a mantra, like a chant that they'll do for 10, 20 minutes. That's not my vibe.
Okay.
So you got to find what works for you, and that's what will work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think people make things too complex in life. Like when you're trying to, achieve the world, it seems so overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
When you're like, I'm just going to show up 5 minutes for myself today, and that's all I'm going to do. You make it happen because it's 5 minutes. Who can't make 5 minutes happen, right? So it's starting slow and then building over time, which is what I always say to like my followers and my community. I'm like, listen, I didn't add all these habits overnight. It was little by little. I realized what worked for me, and then I built over time. So I think just choose one thing that you think will make yourself feel good, right? Whether that's lemon water in the morning or a 5-minute meditation or journaling in the morning. Choose one habit that you can, start your day off and then build on that over time. It doesn't have to be 5 habits. So I think that's a tangible takeaway.
Yep.
Is just start with one habit, whatever that looks like for you, whatever you think will be, good for your well-being, and then go from there.
Love that.
Yeah. So
it's funny because I'm turning, as I mentioned, guys, is this on my mind? I'm turning 40 this year.
Which I love. I've heard that's the best decade. So lean
I'm
in.
excited for it. I really am. But I have this sense of like, I want to go into this next decade and choose how I want to live my life. And I feel like the past, 8 months of my life have kind of been a fire drill. Like hiring and finishing the new fits, having the new baby, navigating 3 kids. Like I feel like life was happening to me, and I wasn't necessarily choosing on a daily basis like how to show up in my life. So as I enter 40, like I want to know and I want to decide how the rest of my life looks. And I'm getting a little like mortality fear and, thinking about my aging parents and all of this is happening lately. But I went to the doctor recently. I have a nurse practitioner. She's amazing. And she sat with me for a full hour. Like, this is the kind of healthcare we should be getting, right? And she's asking me about my workouts, my meditation, am I in therapy?
Is she integrative?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. How's my sex life? How am I sleeping? She's asking me all of these questions. And at some point, she just starts laughing because I'm like, yeah, I'm sleeping like shit. I don't have much muscle now because I haven't been working out because this thing happened to me. And then I've got anxious and, I've been having a lot of anxiety. And she just starts laughing. She's like, you see how this is, how are you eating? Are you eating dairy again? I'm like, well, not much. And she's like, but some. So your sleep, your anxiety, but you're not working out, you're not meditating, you're not taking care of, you're not doing all the things you could do to help yourself. And she's just like laughing at a certain point because I'm answering my own question.
Yeah, totally.
And she's like, there's not a pill to give you for this. Like you have the power to do this for yourself. So I feel like, I've really tried to envision what the next decade of my life looks like. And I was doing a manifestation exercise with Hannah Eve recently, and she actually does marketing for Skinny Confidential. So like there's a whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I know.
So she's starting show me how good it can be. Like an idea, like a company or a brand based on like how good it can really be if you choose to make it that good, right? And so she did this New Year's thing, and she said like, I want you to think about where you are in 5 years. Like where would you want to be? And at first I'm like, no.
Yeah.
This is too overwhelming for me. Like I'm supposed to have this idea of what things look like. But then I took it so much more granular. And I was like, okay, it's Christmas break in 5 years. What am I doing today? Like, how do I want that day to look? Instead of like, where do I want to be living or what do I want to have? It was more like, what do I want my day to look like? So my kids are these ages. Where am I? And so I was actually able to visualize, okay, in 5 years, it's Christmas break. I'm somewhere outside with my family, whether it's like warm or more temperate, like a mountain town or something. We're able to hike. We're able to get outdoors. I'm not on my phone. And in what world are you envisioning your perfect life and you're like sitting and scrolling?
Yeah, exactly.
None, right? So we got to get off our fucking phones.
Yeah.
We got to get into nature. I'm cooking for my family more. Like it was actually very simple things that I realized I wanted. I wanted presence. I wanted to move my body. I wanted to be in nature. I wanted to eat whole foods. And then I'm like, that shouldn't take 5 years.
Yeah.
I could start making those changes right away just by not being on my phone as much, not scrolling mindlessly, walking, like easy things that feel really hard at
Mm-hmm.
first, but they're just choices we make.
I think it's like eliminating bad habits, right? So like I feel like a lot of people sit there and scroll, which like I definitely do as well, right? But I catch myself, and when people say they don't have time for something, I'm like, but you do, because you're losing time by scrolling for 20 minutes a day. So like, how about instead of being on your phone for 2 hours before bed, you put your phone down before bed and you journal or you read or you meditate, you know, like, so stop scrolling. So I feel like you have to eliminate the bad behaviors, right? And replace it with something good, which is really hard. So I feel like you have to choose.
But maybe you let yourself scroll for an hour.
100, yeah.
Just not 2 hours,
Yeah,
or, you know, whatever the thing is. Like journal for 10 minutes.
Yeah, correct. Like you don't have to make it so unattainable to do, right? I feel like I scroll. I loved a good scroll session after work. I sat on my couch so my husband was out of town for like an hour yesterday scrolling after work because I just wanted to veg out.
Yeah.
It's okay to also give yourself grace and do those moments because we're human and we're not robots trying to be perfect. So like I think just be aware of behavior so that you can change it, right? Like I feel like that's what I've done, and I'm not perfect every day by any means, but I think like it's just the awareness of like making the decision you're going to make a priority to meditate or to walk or to put yourself first, you know?
Yeah.
Like I feel like we go through seasons of life. Like I was going to tell you, like you're in a season where it's chaotic, and I think that's also okay. Like I feel like we have to give ourselves grace, and that like my year has been really chaotic as well. Like we got a puppy, I'm pregnant, like I have so much going on. I felt like I've been a chicken with my head cut off.
Not just a puppy, like some goats,
like sheep, like chickens.
Yeah.
Like I have way too much shit. Like literally I have felt fucking insane. And I give myself, like I feel like we have to give ourselves some grace as well and like not beat ourselves up. And I feel like I do that. And then like the next day I like do something that makes me feel good, right? So the days that I feel like I'm derailed or like I'm not showing up as my best self, I like make a commitment the next day I'm just going to meditate for 5 minutes, whatever I need to do, right? So you have to make it an attainable goal, but I also think like it's okay to lean into like it's not always a balance. And I think confidence also comes from us being okay with not being perfect too, you know, and like giving yourself that grace. So, but I think it's amazing to like have goals to show up and be better, you know, because that's the only way you're going to do it.
Right.
So
you have to have something to work towards, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And I like what you said about like just showing up and not feeling this need to be perfect.
Yeah.
And, you know, the reality with the way that technology is going and AI, and I'm curious your perspective on using filters in our industry too, and kind of like airbrushing what you look like to a point of distortion. You know, how does that give other people permission to show up authentically themselves? Because from what it sounds like and the way things are going, authenticity is going to be the new currency.
Yes.
Whereas everyone can look fake and perfect and have huge eyes and sculpted cheekbones, and that's not reality of what they really look like. But everyone thinks that to the point that like it's disinteresting.
I think like that people want authenticity that should fuel us to want to show up on social media even more as ourselves, right? Like I think that all these like perfect faces and like these perfectly filtered people, like honestly, the way that I look at social media, which I think is helpful, and maybe it's cynical, but I don't really care, is the more curated and perfect somebody's account is, or the perfect their face is, I think how unhappy they are. Like I feel like when you're confident in who you are, you don't have to have a perfect front. You just don't. Like you're okay with the messy look and the messy life. And like I said, I may be cynical, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. When your Instagram or the way you're showing up is so perfect all the time, I think that's a deficit. Like I think there's something internally going on that's forcing you to show up like that. And it's not true. Like no one can achieve perfection.
Yeah, it feels disingenuous to me. I like instinctively don't trust them.
Correct. Like it's an energetic thing. Like you're like, this isn't right because it's not true, you know? So I feel like you just need to show up messy and human. And that's the way people connect with you, you know? Yeah. So, but on social media, especially like you're talking to your camera guys, like you have to have a brand. You have to show people who you are so they can find you, so that they can work with you, so that you can, you know, build a business. You know, social media brings a lot of opportunities. Like I wouldn't be sitting here today. I was telling Michelle earlier that I wouldn't be sitting here today unless I showed up on social media vulnerable and like did my anonymous question and, you know, had people kind of attack me on social media.
This was the direct result of you answering that question.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't be here sitting here having this conversation with you if I wouldn't have used my social media platform to be vulnerable. Right.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's so much beauty in being vulnerable and showing up and like having a social media presence, like having a community and doing something that's hard like, and uncomfortable, you get rewards from it. And this is part of it. Like, I'm so honored to be here because I showed up on social media, right? Like, so I feel like there's opportunity and like there's a way to view social media. It's not a negative thing. It's actually a positive thing when it comes to business and growth and being in aesthetics.
Like basically grief and anger and frustration just suppressed and suppressed and suppressed can be devastating.
Mm-hmm.
And most people with chronic illnesses, whether it's autoimmune disease or cancer or melanoma or something like that, like the studies literally show it's these characteristics of people who you would describe as, she's so nice.
Yeah, people pleasers probably.
Yep.
Yeah, which is crazy.
It's wild. It like shook me when I learned that.
Which is why, like, I feel like as women, we have to be even more intentional to put ourselves first before, like, our kids sometimes, which is really hard. And I feel like a lot of women don't do that. But it's like you have to put your oxygen mask on first, right, in order to be able to show up as your best self.
Yep.
And I know that's super hard because of the way that we're ingrained and, like, just what we're ingrained to do and become. But I feel like you do have to take care of yourself in order to be able to take care of somebody else, right?
Yep. Yep.
So, I mean, that's crazy.
My daughter said something yesterday to me that like kind of crushed me. She was like, Mom, are you coming to Girl Scouts tomorrow? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, you never come to Girl Scouts. And I was like, that's not true. Like,
Yeah.
I have come to the Girl Scouts thing. And I had this pang of like guilt of like, I'm not the mom who can attend every Girl Scouts opportunity.
Yeah.
But I said to her, other moms don't necessarily work or work as much as me, and that's how their life is set up, and they're able to be there more. But I'm working so that you can have all the things that you have, and I can show you a different way. But like, we can all choose different things. I don't know where I'm going with this other than like.
I have a really good point to that. And so Lauren, the Skinny Confidential girl, there was a child psychologist woman that was on there. And she said, instead of so when you're a busy working mom and you're like juggling too many things, instead of telling your kids that it's like, I have to go to work, I'm sorry, you tell them, I really love what I'm so excited to go to work because mommy loves what she does, but I promise I'm going to be at your next event because I want to see you shine on stage. But she was saying, like, frame it, like when you're really busy, to frame it as like a positive thing, like for you.
I like that.
Isn't that good?
Yeah.
So that your kids don't feel like you're doing something you don't want to do. And she said it actually instills in them like confidence to want to be more driven or to want to do what like they want to do. So you shouldn't frame it as a negative thing. You should frame it as a positive thing, she was saying. I thought that was fascinating because I haven't had to have that conversation yet with my son. But I always think about like me and my husband being very high performers. Like we're gonna need the nanny. We're gonna need all the help. I'm not gonna be able to make it to everything. But my goal is to show my children that like, it's okay to be driven. It's okay to have goals. It's okay to want to succeed. Like, I want my kids to dream big. How do they dream big? By watching you dream big and achieve your goals, right? Mm-hmm. So I feel like reframe it with them maybe and say, mommy's really excited to go to work today. I have all these things that I'm really excited about, but I cannot wait to come home and read you story time or whatever. She said frame it like that and it makes it better for the kids, which I think is interesting. Like, I don't know how to frame it in the right way, but you'll know in the moment. Like, I feel like it shouldn't be a negative thing to go to work. Right. Is how like a lot of women pigeonhole it, right? And then your kid grows up thinking that you're doing stuff you don't want to do. And then it makes them like down the line, their confidence is like kind of jarred, like disrupted from it. Anyway, super interesting.
And I also love, I have a community that helps me raise my kids because I have to work so much. Yeah. I get to work so much because I do love what I do. Yeah, correct. And I love that they know that they can receive love from other people in that same way. Like they know my nanny loves them. Yeah. And my nanny before that loves them. And that there are other people in their lives that don't just show up and are here and there, or my kids aren't screaming, crying when I have to walk out the door because they're surrounded by people who love and support and care for them. And they're comfortable leaving the house and then coming back to the house because they assume the world is a loving place, which I also like, because I think if your kids only believe that you love them or you have to be with them all the time, they're going to be less confident and feel less safe in other environments than if they're like surrounded by that all of the time. Being a mother can make you even better. Being whatever you want to be, being true to yourself will make you only exponentially better at whatever your goal is.
I feel like being a mother has made me more confident, gives me less fucks. Like, I'm not kidding. Yeah. Like, I don't know if you've experienced this, but like becoming a mother, like I could care less what anybody thinks, like even more. Because it's like the love you feel for that little human, I can't explain it. Like, I feel like I've stepped into my power, like completely. Like, I don't know if it's because like you have mother's intuition and you just know what's best for them. But like me standing up for us, like in the hospital or like with certain health care things with him, like I feel like it's gave me so much more confidence because I'm a mother now. So I feel like you can either let motherhood fuel you or break you. And I feel like I've allowed it to like make me step more and more into my power. And I think the more kids you have, the more power you step into because you have so many plates spinning and you're achieving all these things, you know? So I think it's like superhuman for women to be moms and have careers and, you know.
I agree with that. And interestingly for me, and I think physically I've been much more insecure my entire life, that after I had kids, I also give way fewer fucks about my body because it's like a body is a body is a body.
And
like also I worked in healthcare. I've seen a body doesn't faze me.
And you created life. You created literal humans. Yeah.
So it's just like what we do is awesome.
Yeah.
And it's just a body. these are boobs.
Yeah.
You know, like whatever.
Yeah. I like feel superhuman after I've created a kid. You know, I'm like, I'm growing a human. I'm like, this is insane. You know, it's like but I feel like someone were like, are negative about their body. You know, they're like, oh my God, I'm gaining so much weight. I'm so fat. I am fat. I have all these stretch marks. Like the whole time I'm pregnant, I'm like grateful for it. You know, like I feel like it's all about your mindset and stuff. But no, I feel like this has been really fun. Like I feel like thank you for having me.
I know I kind of hate that we have to end it because I could sit here and talk to you all day. This was really awesome.
I know there's so many things we could have touched on, but I feel like, you know, like we talked about the important stuff.
We did.
Yeah.
And thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you for continuing to like raise the caliber of providers in our industry and speak authentically. I'm glad you showed up that day and shared that because now you're here and this was super fun.
Thank you. You're doing the same thing. So I feel like that's why we're here together, you know?
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us. This has been another episode of Fine Lines with Suzie and Michelle. You can find us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. If you have questions for me or Olivia, you can email us at podcast@thefitsmed.com.
This show is for entertainment and education, not medical advice. If you are interested in treatment, please see your medical provider or book an appointment at the Fits.
I wanted to be on some podcasts to share just insight and, you know, everything I've learned and all that. So, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So.
Oh.
I know.
That happened when you guys were setting up in here.